I'm George Turner from Carney's community. I'm a co-founder. We are a small charity based in southwest London, working in areas of higher poverty and deprivation. I've also brought with me today two of our, I suppose they were participants, they're now volunteers leading on to mentors and key workers. They're going to come up and answer some questions as well. I also want to say a very quick thank you to you because you've helped us already. Two of the organisations that you funded have helped us set up as a charity. That's Fight for Peace that was mentioned earlier, and also Catherine Lowe Centre. So at Carney's community, we tend to work with the most disadvantaged groups. We work a lot with offenders, with perpetrators of crime, but also victims of crime. And people often say, well, why focus on the people who choose to offend rather than focusing just on the innocent victims? And the reason is that you can't really differentiate between the two, because what we find is that 99.9% of the case, the perpetrators have been victims of offences themselves. And we've looked into this quite deeply, and I've written down a few lists of some offences that some of our current participants have committed. We've got people who have been arrested for and charged with murder, robbery, firearms, possession with intent to supply, burglary, lots of terrible offences, and lots of people will say, well, lock them up and throw away the key. But we say look at it a bit more deeply, look at the causes, and when you look at what they've been victim of, we have, again, these are real examples, we have young people who've been victim of abuse, rape, robbery, GBH, we've got young people who've been pimped out and sexually exploited by their parents, who've been sent out to rob and burgle houses by their parents. We've even got one young man who has witnessed his father murdering his mother. So these are some horrible things that have happened to them, and us looking at these causes, it doesn't justify what they do, but it helps us to understand it. If we can understand it, we can stop them. We can stop them offending, we can stop having more victims who then could potentially turn into more perpetrators. We also work with the people that cost society the most. We've started to use the Department for Education's old negative costings calculator to try and assess how much. And at the top of the charts, we have a young man who managed to cost society £1,012,590 by the age of 21. And then following up closely behind, we have another young man who 12 months prior to working with us, in the space of 12 months, had been arrested 57 times in 12 months, which once every 3 or 4 days, pretty impressive. Now, very expensive to society, however, through working with us, they've now both got full-time employment, they're starting to pay back that debt through their taxes. The reason we set up the charity is really based on myself and the other co-founders' experiences. The other co-founder is Mark Reigate. He's a boxing coach who's currently at a show that I need to rush off to afterwards, where we've got a lot of young people boxing. He's someone who was a young offender, and he was saved from a life of crime through boxing, and his mentor, Mick Carney, which is who we named the charity after. I myself used to get in a bit of trouble as well, but I had lots of strong, supportive people behind me that helped me get out of it. And I also have 13 years of experience working for local authorities, working with young offenders, so working in the youth offending team, doing intensive supervision surveillance projects, managing the gangs team, family intervention projects, and all that sort of stuff. So quite a lot of experience, and through that experience we looked at what the gaps were for these young people and also what worked. And the first gap we saw was there's a huge lack of free or cheap sporting activities for these young people, which is why we set up the boxing sessions. The next gap that we saw was that there was a lack of having one significant adult in your life who's a positive role model who will support you throughout your journey, through the youth justice system, through adolescence and through being a young adult. There were lots of great agencies out there doing fantastic work, but generally for the short term. We're in it for the long term. We're talking 10, 11, 12 years at times. Sometimes they don't need that long, but quite often they do. So what we're trying to apply for the funding for, what would the funding go towards? First, we've got the boxing sessions. This is Earlsfield Boxing Club in Fitzroy Lodge, but we do the sessions all over. We do them in youth clubs, community centres, in parks. We go where the young people need us to go, because quite often they can't come to us because they're crossing gang territories. Alongside and linked up with that, we offer qualifications. This was last month. This was a couple of our volunteers, but also our participants who are now qualified as boxing coaches. And we offer them the opportunity then to go off and do some paid work for us as boxing coaches, and also paid work as mentors. However, with the young people who have criminal records, they have to have spent at least 2 years of not offending and at least 1 year of holding down a full-time job so that they can mentor and realistically teach people how to get into work. And Josh and JP will be able to tell you about that. I need to hurry up. We've got lots of volunteering to try and create a positive cycle for young people. Here we've got one of our participants, shot in the shoulder, point blank range with a sawn-off shotgun. That was 12 months ago. He started working with us. He's now volunteering alongside us, and he's got a place in university. But the main thing, the most important thing we do is the intensive one-to-one support. We're there in the long term for them. We do what a good parent would do for any young child. We offer unconditional support no matter what. We don't justify what you do, but we try and understand it, and then we try and stop it. And we're consistent. We're always there for these young people, and the main focus is to try and get them into employment. Another 2 lads, 2 months ago, they've just come out of prison, they're now working full time. This is exactly what we want to try and achieve with the rest of the young people we're working with. And I will leave you with our stats for last year. This is what we're trying to improve on and what we're going to try and help to grow.